Tuesdays with the Frumpy Man. Now, before anybody shows up, it's just me and you. You of the future. This is one of those live streams where I Q&A and I have interactions with random internet people. I'm the least random person in the room. It's kind of nice to be that, because usually I was always accused, at least in my teenage years, of being kind of random. But this particular lens, I know is overkill. I know it's totally overkill, but we're just going to try it out. I'm going to have to stay within a certain range and not get too animated. Maybe I should swap out the lens, because I know this is way freaking overkill. You can't even see the awesome hat that I have. I know. One of my awesome random friends sent me this hat. I have to do this. Oh my God, you still haven't changed your thing. Yeah, somebody sent me this. Somebody looked into the description. I think it's just a habit among YouTubees. Like, I'm a YouTuber, somebody who produces content. I think that people who are consumers of content, we could call them YouTubees. And it seems to be, in my experience, a lot of YouTubees don't really read the description, which is how people figure out how to keep me running as a channel, but also how to send me hats. So some awesome person whose name I'm going to say out loud on the internet, she keeps on sending me hats. Like, every couple weeks I get more hats. So this is a Roman centurion hat. And this is a live stream with random internet strangers. Like I was saying before anybody showed up, I am the least random person in the room, which is kind of weird for me, because I've always been accused of being random. And I don't think it's random. It's just pattern recognition. Exactly. See, it's just like that the pattern itself is very, very esoteric. And then the random person, especially the random high school person, just spouts that random connection. And a lot of people are like, well, how did you get that? How did you get to there from here? I know, this is right. Where's Ben? This is Ben. Can you guys tell me if the audio is okay? EO for you, EO. Looks a little high from where I'm looking, but it's not in the yellow or in the red. This is a Q&A, so go ahead and ask me questions that you want. Heimdall's gay. Let's get the Harry Balzac off the thing. You said she, not they. You transphobe. No, it's not a transphobe. I just narrowed down the scope of whoever it is to 115 or whatever one of something is. 15% of my audience, I think by Google, it seems to be female. My audience skews heavily male. But to quote Jordan Peterson, indirectly, I don't know if this is a quotable Jordan Peterson, but he says that YouTube is kind of a male-dominated space. I don't know if that's if that's been your experience, but especially the topics that I cover, it seems to be mostly male-dominated space. But I really appreciate the women that pipe up in the comments and stuff. I did want to ask you guys, maybe when we get this going on. It's kind of quiet for you, but not inaudible, says Harry. I don't really want to turn it up, but I can bring my mouth a little closer to the fuzzy foam. But then you guys can't see it, so maybe if sorry about the sound. How's that? And there we go. So this is more in the direction of my thing. So you guys ask me questions. What is the meaning of life, you son of a bitch? I do not know the meaning of life. Life is what you make of it. Life is, I don't want to answer that question. There's no way that I can answer that question without descending into platitudes. And because it's on the fly, it's not going to have the kind of, like rhythmic platitudinosity that I can get away with. Like if I'm going to say a platitude, it might as well be pleasing to the ear or the mouth or the imagination that reads the words on the internet or listens to them in their brain by translating what I spout out of me into the microphone. So the meaning of life is way beyond me. Does Ben have any mods on his chat, or are all powers delegated to Ben only? I do have one mod somewhere, Kit, but I don't see Kit. I mean, he hasn't said anything, so yeah. Mods get a nifty blue wrench next to their username. So I don't think that's a question of particular interest. I've been knocking out these interviews. How do you guys like these interviews? I've been descending into very interesting waters that I'm alien to. I'm completely alien to these waters. I've been talking to gender critical feminists. I've been talking to detransitioners, trans people, and trans radicals, and I do want to get somebody on to the program that I will be able to have a good rapport with. Rapport is really essential for me at this point in my development as somebody who is figuring out what exactly I'm doing on this place, besides reporting on a very small liberal arts college in Olympia, Washington. So I'm still trying to figure out how exactly to interview somebody who who is very contentious, who doesn't want to like have a good rapport. So right now I'm just like looking for people with good rapport, and I would like to branch out into deeper trans waters. But I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. So I'll just keep on poking around. There is a the interview that I posted today or yesterday, I've been posting a lot. So I didn't post today. This was my day off from posting. And I had a couple of talks lined up that fell through. But what was I talking about? I was talking about the guy who wrote the article called the Trannish Inquisition. His name is William Ray, and I interviewed him yesterday. And he wrote an article about two people on the internet, two Canadian people, who are kind of, they're definitely trans. They're male to female trans, and that's a technical term. I'm not saying that they're female or male. It's a technical term. Male to female trans people who have very spotty history of wanting to teach young girls how to insert tampons when they run into young girls who are having a tampon freak out in the women's restroom. I don't know how often that happens. Probably once in your life, or probably even less than once in your life. I mean, statistically speaking, the likelihood of any given woman having a tampon freak out in a public restroom is probably pretty slim. I mean, probably what? I don't know. Are there any women in the chat who have had a tampon freak out as your little girl? Like, oh no, I'm having a tampon freak out. Or like, you don't even know what a tampon is. Anyways, so this guy is like, kind of like me, I'm talking about it. So, but I'm not interested in teaching women how to do that, or young girls especially. So this guy has all these like these private chats about like what happens if little young girls like crying, and like, do I show her how to put it in? It's like really gross. It's really horrible. And you're like, dude, what? And this guy is very powerful on social media. Sorry, this girl is very powerful on social media. And then there's this other person who is a man, went into a woman, turned into a dominatrix, and is completely deplatforming Meghan Murphy. I know that a lot of people who watch me, I've done a lot of videos that are anti-feminist, and I do a lot of videos that are in the let's criticize social justice. So, of course, I'm going to have a lot of people who are more staunchly than me, anti-feminist, and probably have more negative experience than I do with feminists. So, anyways, we can disregard Meghan's politics. I think that, anyways, I can. I don't know necessarily if you can or not, if you want to or not. Anyways, I still think this absolutely horrendous that this woman, who we can totally disagree with, and, you know, she's got some ideas, or she's had some ideas that I think need to be challenged. But if she doesn't get into contact with people who can challenge her ideas, but still respect her as a human being, she's not going to change those ideas anyway. So she's being deplatformed by this trans rights person, and then the guy that I interviewed yesterday gets deplatformed by the same person, or his article's about these same two people, and all of a sudden, Medium, bam, article's gone. WordPress actually went in and changed the name in the journalism article that he wrote about this person, like actually reverted their name to their, you know, unverted the dead naming that William Ray put in that article. It's just kind of creepy, you know? And so I want to platform trans voices, gender critical voices, even trans radical voices. I want to platform people, especially trans people, to show the world, to give a place in this dialogue, in my particular sector, for rational trans people, you know, that people can start to understand that being trans is not being anti-free speech. Being trans is not being a pedophile, right? And once we can get through that dialogue, then we can start to see like certain behaviors and separate that. Because being trans is not in and of itself indicative of certain attitudes that the radical trans activists have been espousing or just operating within. We need to separate those out. And I feel that I just feel like it's very necessary to separate that out for us to actually foster good dialogue in that sector. And plus, it's a sector that everybody's really interested in because it really goes against a lot of our deep-seated cultural and even personal, perhaps even biological understandings of the world. Here, there's this awesome super chat by Harry Reid. I'm going to put that up. Thank you, Harry. You're starting to zero in on the epicenter of far-left ideas. Good content. Please keep going. Thank you very much, Harvey. Thank you very much. Is this you in this picture? This is the largest I've ever seen your icon. And now I know what it is. Is that you? You master tactician, you? Tactician, you? I'm going to go back to the chat after I sip a drink of beer. No. I think you can be trans and you can be rational. I know some very smart trans people. Very smart trans people. So I wouldn't judge people based on certain characteristics. I wouldn't go around life judging people based on certain characteristics. But you judge them by their individuality. I think that that's a good argument to be made. I think that's an argument that is absolutely essential to be made. So I disagree, Jim Cox. But that doesn't mean I dislike you. I just think I disagree with that statement. Heimdall. What's their name? Okay, Ben will look at the chat eventually. What's their name? The person that I'm speaking of? Oh, God. Haley Heartless. Maybe I can type it in chat and put it on the wall. Here. How's this work? Haley. I don't want to get banned. I do not want to get banned. But... and here we go. That's one of them. And then the other one is, wait, you guys can't see my desktop. So just a moment. I'm going to find the name of the person who I was talking about. 1 second. Just looking for a name. Johnny. Jonathan. Oh, crap. I'm in so much trouble for posting this. Okay, hold on. I'm going to post it. And, okay, and new image overlay. This is very inefficient. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this. I should have assumed so, though. But there we go. This guy who barely tries. I mean, seriously, look at this. Hold on just a second. This guy, he's talking about how to teach young women how to put in tampons. And, of course, I'm misgendering him. Because just like Voldemort, this guy is he who shall not be misgendered, right? Here, one more picture just to show you. Where are you? New image overlay. Sorry, this is so efficient. And here we go. And we'll, how do you delete this stuff? And like, look at that. Look at this. Can you see that? You guys can't see. Just look at that top thing, right? Just look at that top thing. I mean, talk about top surgery. Anyways, so I don't know if I necessarily want to go around stirring up a hornet's nest because these people have friends in very high places, and I don't necessarily want to be deplatformed at this. I'm so small, it doesn't even matter. If I'm gone, how is anybody going to find me? Look at my stuff on BitChute. I don't want to go to Gab. Don't make me go to Gab. Anyways, here's a Mine Lucy. They who must not be named. Gendered or misgendered. Yes, that's the person. So just be careful that there's these people out here that are controlling discourse. Like the worst possible people to advance the discussion are in charge of the discussion. I think I already spoke about that more intelligently and at length with Carrie Callahan, which I think was on Sunday. I don't know. Everything melts together right now. Yeah, we do. But the thing is, like, yes, don't we all judge off superficial characteristics at first? Yes, but that characteristic, is it skin or is it body posture, right? Is it just like the symmetry of somebody's, like what makes somebody beautiful? For me, okay, female, most likely. Okay, so female, most likely. Then there's that prettiness that's on the surface of there, but like what happens when that pretty woman opens their mouth? Like that changes my assessment of just judging them purely on a superficial beauty level, right? So they open their mouth, something comes out, like, okay, that changes it. But like, how do they move, right? So like there's beauty, and then there's like the surface beauty. There's like different layers of judgment, right? So when you automatically judge somebody as unable to be rational based on external characteristics, that makes no sense to me, because rationality has to do with a use of, intellect, right? And how do you gauge somebody's intellect? Do you just gauge it by their body? Do you gauge it by a psychological condition? Or do you engage with it and then assessment? You have to engage before you can gauge somebody's rationality. So I think that with regards to how do you judge a superficial characteristic, that kind of breaks down when you're talking about rationalization. Rationality is not necessarily a superficial, though there is superficial rationality, which is just the ability to move things around without necessarily any wisdom or all the different complexities that are involved in assessing various phenomena, situations, and so on. So that's my slight. I feel like I'm arguing with people. I feel like I'm being disagreeable. I'm being disagreeable. Oh, whoa. Look at that. So this is a Roman Legionnaires hat. Did you guys ever watch Rome, that HBO show that ended way too soon? I don't know if it was any good. I'll have to go back and watch it again. Ooh. Baby, it's cold outside. Ban me for being R-A-P-E-Y. Who is Baby It's Cold Outside? I don't know that one. Is that a song? It sounds like a song to me. Sorry you got perceived as rapey. I mean, listen, I see that there's the capability for all of us to be less judgmental of superficial characteristics, and a lot of things that's going on that are really detrimental to society is like this whole like white men are bad thing, or like this whole Sarah Jeong thing, or this whole like New York Times op-ed official position on denigrating white people. Like it's idiotic, right? So why would we replicate that? If we're against that, why would we replicate that with people with different sexualities or different gender conformity things? And I'm not saying that I completely agree with the whole like non-binary thing and like the multiplicity of genders. I really have a strong problem with that. And actually, the trans people that I have come into contact with, which are it's a very small, very, very, very small sample, and it's mostly because I'm talking about certain issues that have to do with Enlightenment values and classical liberalism. They are not into this whole like let's dissolve gender thing, right? So there's a lot of areas in the trans issue cluster that I don't necessarily agree with, but I do want to make connection. I want to found things on rapport, and then we can get into actually interesting discussions. I feel like I'm on the spot all of a sudden. Why am I feeling like I'm on the spot? Anyways, because I'm just repeating myself over and over and over again. Anyways, so you guys have any ideas? What would you like to see on this channel? People who are invested in this channel. I really think Household Dog, who appears to have a picture of a dog being sandwiched by a fake dog. Household Dog says, I really think trans activists are more concerned with feminism than they are trans issues. The latest version of feminism is trying hell for leather. Never heard that phrase. Wonderful phrase. Have no idea what I'm supposed to visualize with hell for leather to separate gender from sex. I tried to get Megan Murphy to go down that rabbit hole with me. And there is one person from Evergreen, a professor from Evergreen who doesn't work at Evergreen anymore, that I want to get on the channel, not to talk about Evergreen, but to talk about gender theory or queer theory, because he actually was hired to talk about queer theory. But he's a philosopher, and that was just one thing he talked about, but he's actually a much broader philosopher. I've met him once, and I was hoping to get him on the channel. I'm still hoping to get him on the channel, not to talk about Evergreen. He doesn't necessarily want to talk about Evergreen, but it would be nice to get him to talk about queer theory. But We'll see about that, because I do need to get I do need to talk with some philosophers about like figuring out like the entire cluster, and not just from a critical standpoint or critical against it standpoint, but somebody who has the ability to actually just explain it in a way, and then we can start talking about it, the strengths and weaknesses. That's the kind of thing that I'd be into. Getting a foundation in, so we can go, if I want to rappel down that weird gender pitfall of like billions of gender thing. If I do want to go down there, I'm not saying I necessarily do. I don't know if that's necessarily interesting. I'm more interested in like trying to platform people who are rational. But if we do need to go down there, it'd be nice to like have some tools in my toolkit to rappel into that. Hey! Welcome aboard. I cannot pronounce your name. And I think it's written backwards from my Western way of looking at it. But I can read your thing, so welcome aboard. You know what? And you know what I've had a lot of fun doing? In branching out into these topics that I'm not necessarily like at all suited to deal with, and like just contacting people who are suited to deal with this stuff. Like I'm like actually meeting people from all these walks of life. So it's like, it's nice to be meeting people who are, you know, trans and who are, you know, feminists, and kind of trying to figure out where in these groups are people that are willing to actually have a conversation and stuff. And it seems like I'm attracting that. I'm attracting a tiny little bit of hate, but the one good thing about being on Turf Blocker is that a bunch of people who would go after your ass don't even know you exist. So that's the one good thing about being on Turf Blocker. You're totally shut out of the bad parts of that conversation. See, like, this is what I'm talking about. So, however your name is pronounced, you're trans, you're libertarian. And that's one interesting thing that I've been running into. I've been running into, like, trans libertarians. It's, like, really interesting. I think, like, one of the arguments that the trans rights, and not activism, but just trans rights, could be built on is the libertarian personal autonomy argument. And I think that, you know, because of that being the most solid rational argument, that's probably the cluster where you're going to find a lot of rational trans folk in there, in the libertarian bowers of do what thou willst shall be the whole of social law. See, this is somebody that I wish I could be having a conversation with. What's the difference between the non-binary people and trans people? Because I perceive that there's a difference between people who are like, I'm going from one gender to the other because all these different really complex reasons, right? And then there's this other group is like, I want to be free from gender. And that's what I brought up with Carrie Callahan about the question of the they. Is the they a thing in and of itself, or is it freedom from the thing? But that freedom itself is impossible. Or it's not rationally viable, because once you start entering into, I am neither this nor that, you are trying to describe something that you are, but it seems like that are-ingness, or that being definedness, is what is trying to be repelled against, or rebelled against. And that's why I think a lot, and I don't mean this necessarily derogatorily, but the trans-trender set is a lot of young people who just want to experiment, who want to be outside of that which is controlled or determined by society of their life. So I think that non-binary stuff, I don't know if it necessarily can last. I don't know if there's actually like hard rationalization of what it is to be non-binary. I don't have my non-binary coffee cup anymore. But it seems like the non-binaries would be attracted to a like that what's called cultural Marxism or postmodernism or whatever it is, like that very inefficient word, would be that cluster, rather than the libertarians I would think would be more people clustered around rationality, because libertarian values would say that you do you. You do you. Taking a sip, going back to the scrolling of things. Some trans are actually trans. Vax pollution, GMOs, non-stick pans, etc. Okay, see, this is a great chance, and I'm doing it really inefficiently. I'm just featuring your comments, oh ye, who I cannot pronounce of the Naaman. Transition pertains to an older concept the non-binaries have culturally appropriated the transgender subject. Do you think, God damn it, this is so inefficient. I don't have a setup for you to call in. Maybe we can have a conversation sometime. Are you on Twitter? Find me on Twitter. Let's have a conversation, because I don't want to like take your thing and then I have all the power to talk about it and you're saying these interesting things and I ask a question. Okay, if transition pertains to an older concept, what is that concept? Going from male to female, right? And what does that concept necessarily imply? That you will do it outside, that you'll present as a female? There's this one case that somebody sent me a while, and I don't want to cover it because it wasn't substantial enough to cover. But just as a case right now in conversation, there's this case of somebody in the Northeast of America who was a principal, and all of a sudden he decided that he was a she, but did no work to present as female. Just wanted everybody to call her this other name and use these other pronouns, but did no work to actually present as female. So does the classical trans movement pertain to or expect, is there an expectation that you're changing your presentation, not just how everybody interacts with you, but how you present yourself to be interacted with? And how far down does that go? And I'm sure that there's a lot of different layers to that. Is it just clothes? Is it certain sorts of hormones? And then you go into the surgery territory. I think that you could probably, and I'm totally out of my element, but I think that we could probably say that there's like different levels of that. But like, what's the expectation? And then what's the expectation with non-binaries? Non-binaries, it seems like they want, and this is straw manning. It seems like non-binaries want to be able to control how everybody else perceives them without necessarily saying, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do for everybody else, and then I'm going to expect them to treat me in a certain way. So it seems like classical trans, they go the distance, at least insofar as just a surface level interaction, to appear a different sex, and then that leans on the expectations that they're going to be treated differently, as well as be able to maintain the state of mind that's more comfortable for them or resonates with how they feel. Whereas it seems like the non-binaries and the pockets and the clusters, they want to exert pressure on society to, just treat them however they want to feel, like that whole gender fluid thing. So I don't know. Now I have to go back to the chat to see if you answered me. Oh, ye of the awesome font. I know it's not a font, Arabic. Non-binaries are people who want to become a relevant agent of change. I mean, that makes sense. Like the progressive love affair of changing the world finds its ultimate manifestation in a certain version of postmodernism, which is that everything is in flux, that all narratives are positioned within a momentary dynamic of some sort, and that there's always going to be a reinvention of that dynamic. And so the progressive, to be an agent of change, just forces change to be always occurring around them. And I don't think that that's tenable, because it's horribly exhausting to be like caught up in just like this presentation thing. I think that one criticism of, I shouldn't go into this without a sparring partner, because this is more of a question to be answered. But it seems like the trans movement being taken from a medical or psychological state of existence into a cultural phenomena is now attracting people who are using that in order to express the ability of being in transit, of being in flux, and then of throwing everybody off all the time, or forcing everybody to be tentative all the time in order to affect a state of chaos that they think of is more beautiful and more alive than a state of order. And I think that we do need to mix chaos and order, but that chaos is affected on a number of levels. So anyways, I don't want to go down this. This is the interesting thing that I want to grapple with, but I am not qualified to grapple with this, just throwing my words out into the limitless void of your random attentions. I'm going to take a little tiny break. Oh, damn it. Freaking wonderful. I'm going to have to learn Arabic to be able to get through introducing who I'm talking to. Is that blood on your nose? in your boob. Anyways, transition pertains to transitioning from one gender to another. I suspect people in current year might be incorporating the polymysticism. Yeah, I think that's what I was getting toward. I need to disengage with you because I can't have this is such a stilted conversation. I want to do you justice. That's why I'm so being tentative. But I should just like forge ahead and be all like confident. Arabic script with the bloody nose and boob says, as for non-binaries, I'm sorry, but my take is that the concept of gender as being a social construct means you can assume a role as typing. And that's the interesting thing. That's another thing that I see criticized. Like, trans people are saying, I think, okay, so classical trans is like, gender dysphoria or some cluster around gender dysphoria, just for convenience sake. And I'm totally learning, so correct me. So classical trans is there are two genders and I'm the wrong gender. So I'm going to take steps so I can get to the other gender and then go on with my life. That's what I've heard. The transgender or like the postmodern trans is that is coming from that Judith Butler, everything is a social construct, which is completely destroying classical trans, is actually betraying the argument or the foundation of classical trans, which is just to fit into society in a different way, not to demolish society, but to fit into society in a different way, in a way that's more amenable to their own personal constitution. Whereas this whole gender as a social construct doesn't lead to that. It actually undermines that. It's a category that I feel, that I'm attracted to, that is a biological, real actuality for me that I'm going to take steps to do. And that undermines that. And once you mix classical trans, so one job is to separate classical trans from the non-binary set, right? Because that non-binary set, once it gets into a social milieu of like gaggles of 14-year-old girls, that's where like that non-binary stuff starts to wreak havoc. Because everybody starts playing along that there's nothing to play along with. It creates mad instability, and then people start modifying themselves for the wrong reasons or whatever. Very difficult, beautiful. Okay, sorry. I just love the word Persian. As for non-binaries, okay, I'm totally losing. You guys have your own conversation. A character in a heralding epic where merely being Hispanic and gay seems insufficiently special anymore. You know what? Saturday Night Live writer got in trouble at a college, and this guy's a young guy. I believe he's Indian, but like he's a person of color. He gets in trouble for making a joke about like, why would somebody choose to be black and gay? Like looking in the mirror and say, oh, isn't it hard enough to be black? Why would I want to add that? You know, and it was just supposed to be a joke. He got like hounded off stage and thrown out of like the college, like the Saturday Night Live guy. So the death of humor. Dialyper writes, what I don't get is why this whine about acceptance. Original gangster metalheads grew out their hair beard, got pierced, tattooed, and wore leather, held a leather, to rebelliously assert individuality. That is empowering. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's the thing. So what needs to be, on a social level, what needs to be distinguished is that classical trans is not an act of rebellion. And that act of rebelling is this kind of, I don't think postmodernism is the right thing. It's just like the evolution of American rebellious youth culture, which is just going through constant like shifts, right? So the trans issue is just another manifestation of I'm going to assert individuality, but because there's a mixture of expecting reality to now cater to my whims, which has to do probably with our historical moment and with like post-World War II Americans, or I guess we're on like the fourth generation post-World War II. I'm third generation. My grandpa was World War II. My father just barely missed Vietnam, and then I'm Gen X. And so like this fourth generation maybe the millennials, they're acting out in a world that has been designed and has been so bounteous that they're expecting it to always cater to them. And at the same time, they can whine about having... Well, anyways, I don't want to like group that whole group into whining about like it's not as rich as it used to be. It's never going to be as rich as it used to be. I get a little annoyed by Reddit and other popularity things about like, oh, look at how hard it is and look at how easy our parents had it. While everybody's like connected to each other on these fucking phones. Like, take the good with the bad. Rambly night with Benjamin. How you guys doing? Oh, wait, hold on. Jim Cox. SNL and humor. Oxymoron. I totally agree with you. I don't think SNL was ever funny in the moment. It was always kind of like, oh, something stuck. Like, we look back on the Mike Myers, Dana Carvey days, or on the Bill Murray. Was Chevy Chase in that, or was he just around that? The Bill Murray days, right? Like, there's classical Saturday Night Live, but like, we only remember the funny bits, right? In the moment, Saturday Night Live is all about just watching the spaghetti hit against the wall. The only problem with Saturday Night Live is that everybody's in the audience is supposed to laugh at all the time. So you're like, why are you laughing? This is a lie. That humor is a lie. Or it's not a lie, it's just maybe I would be laughing if I was in the moment too because my expectations are down as opposed to something that's recorded. How are you guys' expectations for a live stream? Like, what makes like a really awesome live stream? I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, I got like a hat on and I'm like rambling, babbly, and you guys have your conversations. So I feel like there's like one set of expectations for my recorded videos that I do myself. And so I work a lot like to get like the sentence structures right, and I edit out all the gulps and the ums, and like I compact it down as much as possible, which is probably not as compact as most people want it. So like there's that one set of expectations. Then there's another set of expectations for the interviews, right? And then that within that set of expectations for interviews is like that modifies depending on the person that I have and what we're talking about, right? So like how high quality does it have to be? And I'm not so much worried about myself and my own performance. I'm more worried about like serving that other person and serving the audience, right? So the expectations that I have are much stronger for my solo content. But like, and then there's the dual content, and then there's this whole like live stream thing, which is like, okay, it has to be something, but it doesn't have to be like totally perfect. Like, and it's okay if I ramble. It's okay if we're watery. It's okay if we're like just like discovering things in the moment. So I think like with Saturday Night Live, like the audience like is going to be a little bit looser and like a little bit more relaxed on what they find funny, what they don't find funny. So you can just actually throw spaghetti against the wall. So in this moment, I'm just throwing spaghetti against the wall, and everybody kind of tacitly understands that. And plus, anybody who's watching this in this moment just might get my eyes to peer upon their little typey fingers and put that on the string. So like you guys are also like involved in the moment. So we're all kind of like in a way, in a critical way, kind of like relaxed, and we have a suspension of a dislike, not necessarily disbelief, but dislike, right? And that's why, like, I keep up these live streams for about a day, and then I take them unlisted. And if somebody wants to go through my Twitter feed and find links to them, or go through their feed and find links to them, they can find it. But I don't want it necessarily to be what people who are new to my channel come across, right? Because it's not, like, highest quality. But when I start with my regular live streams with perhaps a blonde Canadian, or perhaps a blonde, what's that other nationality? Not Ukrainian, but UKian, English, Englishian. You know what I was thinking? It'd be cool to do like a regular show with Megan Murphy, like maybe like every 6 weeks or so. We have a good rapport. People accuse us of flirting, but I just think we're the same age. This is the thing about Gen X. This is at least like my little slim slice of Gen X. We did a whole lot of flirting. We were always flirting. Like that was how like we were always joking. Like there was a lot of back and forth between the sexes, and we were always kind of like playing around and like always kind of knowingly playing around. At least that's how I surf through that age. So I think people think that there's more going on between me and the person that I'm flirting with than is actually happening. It's just like it's a rapport that has to do with our age. That doesn't necessarily translate to the hyper-puritanical age or the hyper-Tinder-canical age of certain other subsectors of the generationalism of Americas. To drink a sip and continue. You guys are just like having fun over there. Okay, see, I think, you know what? She's got freaking ovaries, man. She's totally over easy, right? And I don't mean that in like a greasy spoon way, but I mean that in like the sense of like feminine ballsy, right? Like, and by that I mean like she can go into a place where people totally disagree with her and are completely disrespectful. I really disliked how disrespectful people were of like our first interview. And that's totally fine because she's been disrespectful too, right? She is getting what she's doled out. I understand that. I don't even care about that because she doesn't care. So I think it's just really cool that she has the ability. It's like, you know what? You guys are going to hate on me. I don't care because I have an opinion, right? And yet she's still open to, you know, modifying her opinion. I don't know. I don't want to speak for her. But anyways, I think we have a good rapport. There's something going on there that I think is productive as far as like perhaps live content. But steel. Ovaries of steel. What kind of baby would that produce? Wait. Uh-oh. Wait, hold on. You guys are like gossiping. I'm sorry I put that on the screen. You guys are gossiping. I don't know who you're talking about. You're talking about... Who are you talking about? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Oh, is Kit here? Apparently Kit's here. He's got the power. Hey, Rick. Oh, wait. Hold on. Feminine ballsy. It's over easy. So, we did have a moderate meetup in Olympia on Saturday night at somebody's house. And thank you for the use of your house. That was wonderful. It was great. It was chill. It was our second one in Olympia. No, it was the third one in Olympia, the second one at the house, and the first one that I wasn't completely drained from. Like, I have problems with social anxiety. Not social anxiety, but just sociality. Like, it really exhausts me to meet new people. And, like, because I'm always on, I'm, like, waiting for them. Like, okay, how do I act? Blah, 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 blah. But, like, we're starting to get to know each other in the Lacey Olympia area. So it was, like, really chill. We had some great conversation. Nobody got drunk. Everybody brought, like, a pastry. So everybody just, like, had pastries all night. And pizza is a pastry insofar as what I mean by pastry. Just in this moment. Not for all time. Just, like, I'm just saying there's a lot of gluten involved in this activity, and then beer, but like it wasn't about the getting soused or getting fed. It was just about hanging out, and we're starting to get to know each other. I do want to have a meetup in Vancouver, probably early spring, I think, and then in Portland and Seattle. I need to do those more. And I'm going to be speaking with somebody from Rebel Wisdom about, like, what's the next step of the IDW. And I don't really like the term IDW, but that's what we have to use right now. I don't like the term at all. And plus, like, it might just, like, have to be, like, just owned by the 5 people that it was attributed to. But what's the next step? And I think the next step is that the personalities on this internet thing that you're looking at, I was going to point at my internet thing, it's just over here, but the internet thing over here, the point of any given content creator is actually to connect the audience with itself, right? Like to become a bridge for the audience, to become a bridge to become an agent of change in the sense that these people who are disconnected can now be connected. That's where change happens. Change doesn't happen me going around like saying, this is what I think, and this is my idea, and this is all these things. I mean, maybe a little bit to a certain extent if I have a good idea or not a good idea, but I think the greater effect that I could have, and a lot of the IDW people and the people on the fringes of the IDW, a lot of the great effect that we could have is to share the wealth and to connect people who are attracted to us because of why ever you're attracted. I'm not going to say that I'm intelligent, but the IDW, hyper intelligent, right? And I think a lot of people who are intelligent are attracted to the intelligence of the IDW, right? So anybody who's working within that network is probably attracting people who are intelligent themselves. And I think that would be a great boon, not bane, but boon for society, for all these intelligent people to get connected, to bypass like the stupid high noise ratio of modern media just stamping our ideas on the populace. Like, no, there's a lot of people with great ideas out there who are attracted to people with great thinking abilities. So that's the next step. Anyway, so Super Chat by Kit. I always love that you go 1 penny less than a full whatever. It's just so cute. Hey, Cat, Heart, Harmbell, ding! I avoided loyal opposition to have blue wrench. It's only fair. What? Avoid to have blue wrench. Okay, I could do that. I would build him. I don't know how to do that in this program, but I do think that loyal opposition, because he's got a tri-corner hat and he builds these fascinating little like typey boxes where you go up to him and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. We don't need to talk about internal politics. Oh crap! And then Teddy Pal comes in here and like tries to make me embarrass myself. Oh no, it wasn't a question. Exactly. What I describe is the reason schools were created. I thought you were asking me a question about why schools were created. I'm like, oh crap, Teddy, you make me feel really embarrassed about the low resolution of my thinking sometimes. But yeah, connecting people, fostering intelligent discussion, fostering intelligent discussion, and then connecting the world changers together in a little small way. That's the great thing. It's a gong. That should be a song. This version of... I am totally drug free. I'm not drunk. People keep on accusing me of being drunk. I do not pronounce my words correctly when I'm drunk. This is the second beer in now 3 hours, and I'm like this much beer. So I've had 14 ounces in 3 hours. I'm not drunk. I'm not on any drugs. I can't do drugs because of my job. But yeah, I do get hopped up. I turn into somebody else when the camera's on me. I don't want to talk about me. Let's talk about you. Oh, wait, hold on. Even if only on Patreon. Oh, you know what? I could... Oh, crap, Patreon. Oh, God. I have to figure out how to do Patreon. I'm so bad with my Patreon. My Patreons really help me out. Like, the money I get from Patreon, it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's really... It's like really a good amount of money. And I have no idea how to serve them because I just produce content. I just like produce content and produce content and produce content and produce content, produce content. So maybe posting these live streams directly to Patreon would be a good service. I wish I could figure out how to do more of them. I'm going to need to figure out how to get somebody to help me, like, be a better community manager because I just, like, create. That's all I'm good at. But anyways, that's a good idea. Put them on Patreon. If you're my Patreon, thank you guys. If you're not, thank you for showing up. I really do appreciate that. And I do not give them enough. I just give everybody everything I have. I should reserve something special for the Patreons. This is like one of those just like surfing through the internet. Do you guys ever listen to Rush Limbaugh? I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh when he was only speaking in Sacramento. Like this is back when I was, how old was I? I was in 9th grades. No, I was in 4th grade, so I was 9. Yeah, I was 9. I had my first job when I was 9. I started as a paper route guy when I was 9. I've been working a long time. Like, that was child labor that I was doing, right? Like, I just, like, got a paper route. Like, it was 9. And I, like, had this cool little, like, stereo thing. Maybe it was 11. I know for certain I had a paper route before the one I had at 11. Anyway, so I had this cool thing that I won at the library. It was like this. It was like these headphones, right? And it had a freaking radio built into it. And you just like zip around, and I listened to Tiffany, like, what was that song? Oh, what was the song? Running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. Then you put your arms around me and you run into the ground, and then you say, I think we're on a super chat now. Thank you, Reggie. Pagliaccio, thank you for the beer money. The money that's donated through these super chats also goes to the cat food, because quality cat food, just like quality beer, is not cheap. Thank you very much for your patronage. You're not a Ben, you're a Panzer dude. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've been told to do like this selling thing more, like, oh look, like, subscribe, like and subscribe to me, ring the bell, and Patreon. I have cool shirts in the description below. They're not in the description right now because I'm trying to figure out still how to set up this program that I paid money for, and it doesn't even do a freaking green screen yet. I have to wait for a green screen. OBS has a green screen, but they don't let me use like my awesome camera yet. So, jeez, we should start wrapping up. I was talking about Limbaugh because I was thinking about radio. I was thinking about talk radio. So anyway, like Rush Limbaugh, right? I cannot listen to him. I don't like being involved in the world the way that he likes being involved in the world. I'm not going to bag on him, but I've grown apart from dear old Rush. Anyways, I listened to him on my paper route when I was like 10 or 11 or 12, and he was still in Sacramento. He hadn't even gone national yet. So like, this is old school Rush Limbaugh, right? And then I listened to him in high school when he was just going rational or national, and he like had like things about feminazis, and then he had and oh my god, I'm turning into Rush Limbaugh. I haven't done anything about, no, I did do things about guns. I have done things about feminisms. So I'm kind of basically fulfilling my Russian destiny. You think Rush is a Russian butt? I don't know. But anyways, I don't want to bag on Rush Limbaugh because then I'm going to piss people off. I don't want to piss people off. But Greg Wolf also super chatted with the thing. So this is the plan, guys. I have more interviews set up. I have like a whole slate of interviews set up. An Evergreen teacher contacted me, who wants to have coffee. She saw like my little thing that went viral about like the Evergreens like changing the word covenant to community agreement. Not just because covenant, like if they were just like, okay, covenant, this is kind of like a crusty word. Like, is there a way that we can change that? Let's just replace it. But no, they couldn't just do that. They had to go like, but all the native people have been killed by this word. This word has killed so many people. It institutionalizes colonial oppressions. Like, shut the fuck up. If the word doesn't work anymore, just change the word. Why do you have to like march around like doing your little wigwam things? And I don't mean that disrespectfully to the Native Americans. There's a lot of awesome Native Americans in this part of Washington. I'm sure all over America, but like there's a lot of really awesome Native Americans, even especially at Evergreen. The Evergreen's like Native American sector is probably like the most glorious part of the whole institution. And hopefully when George Bridges like eventually like completely guts and allows the faculty to completely gut any sort of like viability as a college, like it will be ceded back to the natives and they can just like do awesome things because they're awesome there. So I don't mean anything, but seriously, like this whole virtue signal, what it shows about like these Evergreen professors is that they think that they're so important that changing the word and pretending that they're in a nation-to-nation agreement with these tribes somehow like is a little pat on their head. It's so freaking condescending. It's so patronizing. It's like the Evergreen faculty, they have no power to help anybody. I should really go. I think the girlfriend's home. I should go. The girlfriend's home. Anyways, like that really pissed me off. It really pissed me off. I didn't put that in the show, but like that really ticked me off. I think I should go and cook dinner. I think my girlfriend's home. Either that or the cats. Like the cats just start climbing on things because they want extra food. Teddy Pal says, Covenant has the implication of being guaranteed not to change, which makes changing the word irony. I don't know if they have any sense of irony. All the smart teachers of Evergreen, they're in such short supply, and the ones who are intelligent either have to keep their mouths shut or they're constantly shit upon. I had another professor contact me, and they're like, thank you for coming out against this because this allows me to do my job. Like, you're taking a lot of heat off of me. Like, they cannot target me now because you're out there putting all this stuff out there. So in a certain way, I'm like putting more heat on Evergreen so that the actual bona fide educators can actually do bona fide educational work. Stranglehold of George Bridges, an incompetent, self-obsessed, narcissistic freaking faculty. It's just like, it totally drives me up the wall. How self-important these freaking pseudo-progressives are. I'm sorry. I'm totally getting Rush Limbaugh'd. I'm totally Rush Limbaughing Evergreen. The Rush Limbaughing of Evergreen. Oh God, I really do need to go. I have to clean the kitchen. Somebody wants me to get national. I'm international as it is. Giselle. I like you, Giselle, because, you know, there's certain commenters, like, I really enjoy because, like, you're like, cool, 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 and then you disagree with me, or you disagree with somebody else. I really enjoy that we can disagree in good faith on this channel. I really enjoy that. I really am proud of the people who found me at this point in time. Like, you're helping me create a community where people who are strangers can come into the community. And that's why I was kind of upset by the commenters at the Megan Murphy, the first interview, and someone on the second one, because, like, if we can find a place for people who disagree to disagree in a way where they still feel welcome, then we can actually build alliances against the true dangers on a cultural sphere, and then actually get to work on, like, modifying society in a way that none of us are going to be happy with, but at least we know we're not destroying each other in the next minute. Hey, Tim. Thanks, Tim Riley. Thanks for the tip. Thanks for enjoying my stuff. I really do agree. And look at this. Even Greg Wolf doesn't agree. I agree that you don't agree. I'm so agreeable with you disagreeing. And that one commenter who's just been on my ass about being a frickin' right-wing apologist by not concentrating on the idiocy of the right wing, I will, at some point, get around to criticizing the right wing. But I do it in my own good time. I'm not here to speak what you want me to speak. If you don't like me to speak, then stop. I'm not going to get it. It's not about me. It's not about me. Sometimes I let people get under my skin who aren't making an actual argument. They're just making a whole bunch of accusation. It's just like, would you please stop just making accusations and start, like, making an argument, or GTFO? I don't want to tell anybody to GTFO, but sometimes you don't understand the project. One more thing and then I should go. I was accused today of orchestrating what was the word? One moment and then I have to go. There was a wonderful little criticism, and I feel bad about the person. It doesn't seem like they're in the best of states, but they were criticizing my recent spate of trans coverage. Here they are. So this person on the Twitter said, misgendering trans people is simply bullying, Benjamin. All I see you do here and on your YouTube vids is engage in an elaborate form of apologetics on behalf of bullies. Yes, people are entitled to their abstract opinions on trans issues, but you don't get the right to bully others. Anyways, I made a clever comment about if you call everybody who disagrees with you a bully or a phobe and then exile them from the platform, you're actually delaying progress. When you call somebody a bully, you delay progress. You delay acceptance and understanding, which is the point. So if we form a place where we can listen to each other, I'm sorry I'm preaching, but this is my dream, that we can form a place where we can have interesting discussions at length with people, and the people who are following this stuff can start have interesting discussions too in the comments. That's what I want. That's what I want, because if we can have that, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to generate more literature and interesting stuff than all this bitching on the internet. All this bitching on the internet. It's so tiresome. So tiresome. I got to go. I have a lot of work to do. Keep on criticizing me. And if you guys want to support me with very little returns, I'm so sorry. My Patreon is Patreon Benjamin A. Boyce. My PayPal is paypal.me/Benjamin Boyce. And please follow me on Twitter, because that's where I make a lot of, like, very sensually sonic wisdom statements at Benjamin A. Boyce, Twitter. Hold on. I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk. But I'm going to leave us with Farley Moabs. I haven't read, but I'm assuming this is wisdom. Because anything that starts with two kinds of people is automatically guaranteed a wisdom. It's a proverb. Is this an ancient Hebrew formula? I don't know. Two kinds of people in politics. Those that just want to be left alone and those that won't leave them the hell alone. I'll post soon. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Oh, look at that. There's not a single downvote.